Imagine you're entering the war in Ukraine the first week of the war. While everyone is fleeing the country seeking safety, you're going in with the sole purpose of documenting and broadcasting to the world what's really going on the ground. The adrenaline is running through your veins, and after a lot of stress, you make it across the border. When you realize there's a slight problem, you forgot to bring cash with you. Given there's no ATMs working in the border, you don't have any local currency in order to take the bus to the next city. What do? One might say you're in deep trouble, and it certainly sounds like you are. That's until a local Ukrainian sees you in distress and offers you the 100 hryvnia needed to take the bus to the next city. While grateful for the gesture, you're in disbelief of what has just happened. The same person that's fleeing their country to escape war is helping you? This is not how this is supposed to work. It should be the other way around. And no, that's not a romantic story taken out from a novel. This is what actually happened to me when I was entering Ukraine in February 2022. Given what's been happening in the world the past few years, you would think this was just luck or an exception. But that couldn't be further from the truth. I'm here today to, through a series of examples, prove to you why people will always help you and why you should too. You see, on that very trip into Ukraine, I met many incredible people, some of which stood out. This is Davide, who brought his piano all the way from Germany outside the Lviv train station in western Ukraine. His goal? Simple. To play music for the thousands of refugees that were standing outside the train station in the dying cold, just to make their day a bit better. When I asked him why he was doing it, he told me, to give people some hope. On that very trip, I also met Taras, a local who turned his cafeteria into a refugee shelter overnight. The way we met, unconventional. As I said, it's the first week of the war, and arriving in the city of Lviv in western Ukraine, I had no internet or a place to stay. So I had a simple plan: find a cafe with Wi-Fi so I can book accommodation for the night. That's what brought me to Taras's cafe. Entering the complex, the night had almost fallen. And I was getting a bit nervous, since starting from 10 p.m., there was a curfew, meaning nobody could walk outside due to military law. Me and an American journalist I met at the border approached some men that were standing outside the cafe. Few minutes into the conversation, we realized this was no longer a cafe, but a refugee shelter. The daylight was now gone, and we still didn't have a place to sleep. Listening to our story, Taras told us they had a few free beds in the basement that night. He said, no one else is coming tonight, so you can have them. This way, you'll also be safe. Safe from what? I asked. Safe from the bombs, he responded. And so we did. I didn't know it at the time, but that night in that basement in Ukraine would change me forever. In the morning, I asked Taras why he helped us. He looked me in the eye with a smile and responded, this is my way of helping. It's my duty. Now you would say, Tasos, this is because under extreme circumstances, people come together in order to survive. This is not the norm. And I would say, you might be right, so let me tell you another story. Across the Atlantic Ocean, some people experience a very different reality than me and you are used to. The Beast, they call it. It's a high-speed cargo train that starts from various points of Mexico's southern border and makes it all the way north to its border with the United States. Many migrants who want to chase the American dream use this very train as their way of making it north. On this long and excruciating journey that can take up to 20 days, many get tired, injured, or decide to stop completely. Along this journey, there is a group of women in the state of Veracruz in Mexico called Las Patronas, which translates to the bosses. These women have dedicated their lives to providing traveling migrants with food and shelter. Their motto, on our table, there's no borders. A few weeks ago, I was in Mexico myself and had the chance to meet them. While preparing hot, fresh tortillas with their bare hands, I stood there and watched. Why would someone do this every day for the past 28 years, I thought? Why don't they go on with their lives just like everybody else? When asking Norma, one of the women working there, the same question, she told me, "We're all the same. I treat them the same way I'd want my family to be treated. We're all human." Then again, you might say, Tasos, this is a very specific situation under very special circumstances. This is not what I see on my feed every day. And I would say, this is a valid point. So let's go to a place where there's no wars and no migrant crisis. Let's go to a place that has all the reasons in the world to be entitled to bad behavior, criminality, and so on. With the lowest average salary being $4 a day and a bad reputation that precedes it, you would assume this neighborhood in Africa would be the last place you'd ever want to visit. Let's go to Nima, a small community in the capital of Ghana, Accra, where I encountered a very interesting phenomenon. While attending a local funeral, my friend Jazz Spirit, yes, that's his name, Jazz Spirit, I know, told me they were both Muslims and Christians attending the same funeral. I asked him, how could that be? He told me, this is the way it is here. Muslims and Christians live side by side, sometimes even in the same house. I stood there confused as he continued. When the Muslims are praying, the Christians stop what they're doing out of respect. I was stunned. This concept was so foreign to me, I started asking more questions. That's when I met Foster, a young local who, describing the coexistence of the two groups in Nima, told me, let's assume there's a Christian event going on, and it's time for Muslims to pray. The event will still go on, but the music will be low. These are just a few examples of solidarity I've come across the past 5 years I've been on the road. Now you might say, Tasos, that all sounds cool, but why should I care? I have my own life, my own problems, and bills to pay. And that's fair, but let me tell you how this idea of helping, if applied, has the potential to also change your life, like it did mine. You see, the stories I just mentioned might seem unreachable for most people in this room. But what if I told you helping others doesn't need to be on the other side of the world? It can start right here with the person next to you. We've all heard the old saying, giving is better than receiving. But what exactly does that mean? In 2020, a meta-analysis on the rewards of kindness by the American Psychological Association came to a very interesting conclusion. The researchers found that helping others, yes, helps oneself as expected, but not all acts of kindness have an equal amount of benefit to the helper. For example, random acts of kindness, such as helping an older neighbor carry their groceries, had a stronger effect on well-being than did more formal acts of giving, such as volunteering for a charity. In other words, how you help others is more important than the act itself. Now, I want you to take a look at these two words. While similar, there's a difference between the two. Hedonic has more to do with a momentary feeling of satisfaction, whereas eudaimonic has more to do with an overall state of happiness. And that's important because researchers also found that givers experience more eudaimonic well-being than hedonic well-being. Which means that helping others not only makes you feel better in the moment, but it actually helps you find a greater meaning in life. Now, I'm no expert in studying kindness, but what I have seen with my own eyes is that becoming an active member of your community can not just change your life, but when compounded, change the lives of thousands and even millions. And if I myself had heard such an expression only a few years ago, I'd say it's an exaggeration. But after going around the globe, trying to understand humans to the best of my ability, I can tell you with certainty that it's not. This is Orlando. 21 years ago, he started helping people that were living in the streets in Bogota, Colombia. At first, he felt alone, overwhelmed, and even desperate. Thankfully, his passion and persistence persevered, and today, with the help of hundreds of volunteers, is able to provide food and shelter to over 7,000 people across Colombia. A small idea by a single person has turned into thousands of people getting hope for a better life. Modern life can be overwhelming, running around from one place to the next, only to realize the day is over at 7 p.m. What we often forget is that small changes in our behavior don't actually take much, but at the same time can mean the world to the person next to us. So, what can you do in order to change yourself and your community by helping? It's actually easier than you might think. Rome wasn't built in a day, so you can start by small steps, no pressure. Next time you find yourself in any type of conversation, try to actually listen to the person that's sitting across from you. Be present. Everybody's busy and tired. That's not an excuse for not being present in our interactions with others. You'll be amazed how deeper your connections with people can become in just a short amount of time. Surprise a friend with a gift they don't expect. Call your family and tell them you love them. Post a video about something you truly believe can have a positive impact on social media. And if that's not enough for you, you can go a bit further. Volunteer in your local community. There's plenty of local organizations, both in Greece and abroad, that need your help and can give back your effort 10 times in the process. Helping in person will leave a mark on you no online campaign will. Become a mentor for someone. Everyone in this room is an expert in something. So why not share that with someone, therefore giving purpose in your life and theirs? Travel with intention. Alex, a good friend of mine that I met a few years ago that I was traveling in Asia, once told me something that stuck with me ever since. There's two types of people, he said. Most people travel just to take pictures. Few people travel in order to understand what's actually happening in that picture. And trust me, you don't want to be the person that just takes pictures. Life will just run by you and you'll never get the chance to understand what was going on. You see, when you take such actions, something remarkable happens. You magically create a sense of purpose you didn't have before. Altruism is contagious. It's expansive. You truly cannot know to what extent your positive actions can impact the person next to you. When it's all said and done, the only thing that will remain behind is the communities we've created and the relationships we built. Anne Frank said it best. No one has ever become poor by giving. In a world that, despite all its technological advancement, feels increasingly disconnected, it can sometimes be hard to take a step back and look inwards, to bridge within. There's so much noise, we oftentimes forget who we are and where our true power comes from. Who knows what Davide's melodies outside the Lviv train station did to a teenager that was leaving their country that day? They might went on to create the next big app in Silicon Valley after immigrating to the US. Who knows what a free meal in the Patrona's house might have done to a father who'd left his family behind in search for a better life for them? Who knows what impact Christians in Ghana lower the music for their Muslim neighbors might have had to a kid that was studying for their scholarship exam for Harvard. It might have meant nothing or everything at the same time. The fact is, you just never know. Don't underestimate the power you have to positively influence yourself and those around you. At first, it might be your friend or your colleague, but it can ultimately be millions of people around the world. Thank you.